I'm Bill McMinn.
I'm Angie Cliff, yes.
This is the Way to Go podcast, by the way. And you wanted to come in, actually. You came and talked to me in church a month and a half ago or whatever it was, and you said that you wanted to promote Vacation Bible School. But it was more than that. It was kind of like your story growing up and how much it impacted you to come to this summer church program that we do and learn about it and changes in your life and stuff like that. But go ahead.
So, yeah, Bill, I came to you. I wanted to talk about Vacation Bible School and how important that I think it is. I got to share a little bit about my testimony with Vacation Bible School last year here at Eagleville, and it was the first time that I had actually publicly spoken about it. And that day I wasn't really prepared to, but then I felt like it was important for me to share. I think I know a lot of people here in the church and a lot of people in the community, and I think it's important to share how Vacation Bible School changed my life. So now we have to go back many, many, many years. We have to go back, like 40 years, okay? So, picture this. It's a small southern town, and, I'm a little girl. I'm the youngest of 3 girls, and we live in a single-parent home. My parents were divorced. I can't recall because I was very small when my father left, exactly what had happened. But I do have a very, very clear memory of sitting at the dining room table one night doing homework and thinking, that doorbell is going to ring. That doorbell is going to ring one day. He's going to knock on that door and he's going to come and take me away and save me from this. And that thought would go through my head often because my mom, she worked really hard to take care of us, and she was never, ever home. And we were there alone a lot. And I can remember times when we would come home and there would be no electricity, or we'd be scrounging through the cabinets for food. We had the powdered milk and we had the blocks of cheese that we would get from the food lines. And sometimes, maybe there wasn't enough to eat there. Or sometimes the electricity got turned off. I had terrible asthma as a kid, and I can remember my mom arguing with the electric company that we had to have the lights on because my nebulizer machine wouldn't work without electricity, so she used my health condition to get the lights back on. I share this part of the story, so if anyone knows my parents now, please know that everyone changes, and we've all come a long way. But I also have really clear memories of me and my sisters and my mom and her married boyfriend and his wife all living together in the home. It just was not an ideal situation. I can't remember hearing the words, "I love you." Even as an adult, it was very awkward, just to hear those words. Like, that's something that people say to each other. So to sit at that table and look at the door, hearing the chaos in the background, and think, he's going to come, he's going to ring that doorbell, and he's going to save me from this situation. It was very real, and it was something that I would pray for. I would just pray. I hadn't been to church. I didn't know this God person, but instinctively, it's something that I would just pray for, And then one day, a blue bus came down our little dirt road. And I remember the side of the bus said Blue Jay. It was in cursive. It said Blue Jay. And 2 people got off that bus. It was a man and a woman, and their names were Bernice and Jack Quincy. As it turns out, Jack was a deacon at Hardytown Baptist Church in Chiefland, Florida. And they knocked on that door, and they wanted to know if the kids in the house could go to Vacation Bible School that summer at Hardytown Baptist Church. Of course we could go. No one really cared where we were at or when we were coming home. Yes, take the kids, take them to church. So we went to Vacation Bible School, and everything changed. Everything changed. Because, every single one of us, we have a need to feel loved, to feel cherished, to feel cared for, to feel protected. We have a need to have this void filled by a parent. And God promised us he would fill that need. He promised us that he was going to care for the orphan. He would be the father to the orphaned child, right? And when I went to Vacation Bible School, I learned about something. I learned about unconditional love. I learned about love without judgment. I learned about Jesus. And that was something that stuck with me for the rest of my life.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 6 years old.
6 years old, okay.
6 years old. And I think that those of us that serve in our church, or maybe that, we just show up on Sundays, or maybe we do volunteer for Vacation Bible School, we can't forget how impactful Vacation Bible School can be. We never know what child is going to show up there,
right,
and what need that they have. I don't think that the people or the volunteers at Hardytown Baptist Church knew that this little girl that showed up that day was coming from this place of loneliness, she was coming from this place of hardship. But they treated me with love and caring and understanding. And they told me about a man who went up on a cross, and he too was lonely.
Right.
But he still cared for me.
Right.
And he still loved me. And he was going to fill that need that I had.
So you didn't see any of that? Like growing up, you didn't see, hey, mom saying, hey, I'm going to pray about that, or any reference to God or Christ?
No. There was none of that. And then the best part of this is, for me, is that Bernice and Jack Quincy, they truly cared. They were, I can't even tell you how important they were in my upbringing. When Vacation Bible School was done, they continued to see like how hungry I was.
Right.
This was a hungry child.
Right.
And they started to pick me up for church on Sundays, and they picked me up for church.
And that was the blue bus?
The blue bus, they started coming in their personal vehicle. They picked me up for church on Sundays.
Right. Okay, that's cool. Right.
And for church on Wednesdays, and they made sure I got there. And I remember one day, it was a Wednesday night service, and I took a rose for Miss Bernice. And as I handed it to her, Pastor Walter Cooley, that was our pastor, when I handed it to her, he said, "Oh, isn't that sweet? That little girl loves you." And I remember how uncomfortable I was hearing that word.
Right.
And I don't know that a lot of people who didn't grow up in that type of environment, that they could understand that a child would feel uncomfortable hearing someone say that they loved someone.
No, it is hard to think about, right? It is
I was so uncomfortable
Right.
hearing someone say that I loved something or that I loved someone.
Right.
But I did. I loved them. I loved Bernice and Jack Quincy, and they, I think the Lord through them were showing me so much. And by the time I was 9, I was baptized. Mm-hmm. And, I continued on at Hardytown, and I did, youth group, and I was in the children's choir, and they were just an important part of my life. I did mission trips, and Bernice and Jack sponsored me through my mission trips. And, it was such a life-changing event, and it was all that blue bus came down my road and took me to Vacation Bible School.
Right. And you would never know the impact that would have on you, which is obviously ultra profound. Now, when you first go into VBS and you're a kid, was it a fun thing? I mean, did you just have a good time? Did you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's exciting. It's
absolutely. So we have an opportunity to show kids fun. I mean, you get to have fun, you get to have snacks, you get to sing songs, and you get to learn about Jesus. And they're looking at you the whole time. They're looking at you because maybe you're representing yourself in a way that they don't know. They don't know that this is how life can be. This is how adults can be. Because even here at Eagleville, we see all of these children that pile in here. Some are our regular kids. They're here every day. We know their families. We know what it's like. But we have an opportunity to touch so many children in our community.
Right.
I think that we're very lucky in that aspect. Kids who go to Vacation Bible School, they have an opportunity, they have an opportunity to learn something and to apply that to every aspect of their life.
Right, which is awesome. And I think one of the things, too, is just being aware and inviting people.
Absolutely, yes.
So for you, like one takeaway I would say, well, listening to that story, obviously, if you have a neighbor and there's some children around, then maybe just to say, hey, would you like to go? And then also, not only that, transportation was a huge need. I think about Awana North, and sometimes that's where, not having transportation to pick up kids and bring them in makes it harder, because then they have to 100% rely on their parents. And maybe like your mom, she was busy working all the time, so she didn't really have time to get you there. So transportation, invitation are two huge things, right?
Yes.
For a person coming to Christ.
We can change lives.
Right. You wouldn't think about transportation, gospel, right? Invitation to church. That's gospel. I mean, you're pointing people back and helping them to get in a place where they can learn the stuff that can actually change their life, because, your neighbors can't change your life. I cannot change anyone's life. God can change people's lives. So I think that's the really, really cool thing about it. So, okay, when you went, did any of your siblings go with you? Was this something where your two older sisters also went?
So my sister, Chrissy, and she's just a year older than me.
Okay.
She went briefly, and then she was not interested, and she didn't want to go anymore. My sister, Rennie, who is 10 years older than me, she wasn't interested. She didn't want to go. She was too cool for that.
Right. Okay.
So, but here's the difference. And look, I love my sisters dearly, but my sister Chrissy, who just wasn't interested, the one that was a year older than me, wasn't interested. She had, wanted to go ride her bike, do this, do that. Our lives are very, very different.
Right.
I love my sister, but she's had a lot of challenges. She's never, been out and able to support herself. She suffered through drug addiction, which resulted in some bipolar, was schizoaffective. She has never had a job. She lives on disability, and one of my aunts is her custodian, so handles all of her finances.
Now, is this still Florida, or did you guys all move to Ohio?
So my sister that needs all of the help now, she's in Minnesota, so that my aunt can handle her finances.
Gotcha.
My older sister's still in Florida, so I'm here.
So you guys are split up pretty good,
We are
really,
split
actually.
up,
I mean, Florida to Minnesota to Ohio, I mean, that's a pretty big gap.
But I make my way back to Florida. I make my way back to Florida at least once a year. Before COVID, it was more, but yeah.
So what brought you to Ohio?
Oh, a boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now here you are. Well, we're fortunate. I mean, you're a county treasurer now, so obviously we're happy to have you here in this county. So as you were going through then those times in life where you're going to youth group, you're going to, so what happened after that? Like, you progress through, somebody invites you, like what happened to your neighbors? Did you maintain friendship with them going through the years?
Absolutely. I love them dearly. Mr. Jack passed away in 2007. Beautiful man. And we all know, I'm going to see him again someday. He was a beautiful man, and I still miss him. Miss Bernice, she's still there sharing the word in Chiefland. So
that's pretty wild. So you remain close to them. Like, they were your neighbors, right?
Country neighbors. Country neighbors. They, we lived off of Manatee Springs Highway, so it was a driving distance, maybe 5 minutes driving. Yeah.
Okay. So did you see them a lot outside of church too? And how long did they take you to church? Like, how big of a commitment was that?
My whole life.
Your whole life? They come every Sunday?
My whole life.
They must have thought you were like their kid.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny because I kind of blended in. People would joke that if you spend enough time with someone, you start to look like them.
Right.
Because they, all of their kids, they were all like really dark hair, black, brown hair, blue eyes.
Right.
So we would go places, and I just blended in with the family.
So did they kind of like take you in as so you had more contact with them, obviously, than just Sunday morning or Wednesday night. So if another thing was going on, they might say, hey, come along with us. And
yeah, when Mr. Jack passed away, I was with the family.
Right.
And, I was with the family group just because I felt like family after all of those years. Right. When this whole process first started, through elementary school and, like junior high and stuff, I was, Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Wednesday afternoons. But then quickly, we would have birthday parties or, and I was always part of that.
Right.
I would go
Which
to
is awesome.
Sunday dinner with them every Sunday.
Right. You're part of their family.
Yeah, I was
but I
part
think
of the family.
think about that. Now we're talking about Christianity. So you come to Christ, faith in Christ. That faith in Christ puts you not only into a relationship with God, because it does, so you can pray and that's all kind of independent stuff, but it also puts you in community because you've got people around you who are now supporting you.
Yes.
That you would not have had that kind of loving, doting support outside of that church family.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
So I think that's huge right there. I mean, just the
Absolutely.
fact, and I think that we have to be open to that we have an opportunity in this life to impact other people, not just our own kids, but as our own kids grow up and they go through time, there's chances to impact other people as the Lord brings people into your path. I like the long term. Sometimes a very difficult thing to do to have that long term impact in somebody's life.
Yes.
Over time, you do stuff with them, you love on them, you get a chance to be a major player in their life. I think that's ultra special to me. I mean, they must have loved that opportunity. I mean, for them, I mean, you love that opportunity,
my
but I'm sure
goodness.
they loved you just as much as you loved them.
Yes. And I think that, sometimes we are quick to judge, especially, now. We're so quick to judge, maybe we'll see, and I don't say me or you when I say we.
Right.
I think as a community, as a nation, we'll see someone or where they've come from and just write them off or disregard. But I think that, we shouldn't be like that,
Right.
You never know what someone is capable of. It would have been so easy for them to just, take me to vacation Bible school, give me that exposure, and then write me off because, as I started to get older, I could hear people talking in the community. I know what they were saying about my family.
Right.
I knew that we were poor. I knew what the relationships that
Right.
my mom was having were about.
Right.
I wasn't blind deaf to that. Right. I know what they were saying about us. Right. I knew that we didn't have money. I knew that we weren't like the other families. And I knew that statistically I should become, another one of those statistics.
Right.
I'm trying to look for a good, clean word to
Right,
use,
right.
But they weren't willing to write me off because they know that, I can do all things through Christ.
Right.
Like I'm not committed to a statistics that,
Right.
Anything is possible, and they taught me that,
Right.
and they showed me that, and there's so many scriptures that are marked and underlined in my Bible here that anytime that I felt discouraged or fearful, or I thought, what, not you, Angie, you can't do that, I was reminded that yes, I can.
Right.
Yes, I can. I've come so far from where I started. Do you know I was the only one in my family to even graduate high school?
Wow. That's a statement, right? And then you went on from there, obviously.
Yes.
'Cause
And now, you all trust me with your money. So,
Right. County treasurer.
Yes.
No, which I'm excited about that too. And I was happy when you won that election. I thought it was great and things like that. But no, I love it. I love the potential. And I know for myself, I grew up with two parents. So I did hear, I love you and stuff like that. We had hard times, for sure. I personally, because the family was intact, like I wouldn't want to grow up another way because I grew up scrappy. I grew up having to fend for myself at times, buy my own clothes and figure stuff out. And I thought it was good for me going forward. You get used to that. Like no one gives you anything. I mean, you got to go out and earn everything that you have. I'd much rather that world than a world where you just sit around, everyone gives you everything, because that's not a fun lifestyle either. Where's your opportunity to really excel? And this world's full of opportunity, by the way.
Oh, it is.
If you look at this county, how many people need help? How many people need workers? How many people everywhere?
Everywhere. Yes.
It's almost unbelievable how much I hear this constant theme, so many opportunities in this world. But I'm glad to have grown up. I don't know how you feel about it. Do you feel like it benefited you in some ways to have that hard side? And
it teaches you just to dig in and keep going,
Right.
It gives you that little bit of fight. You appreciate everything you have. You take
Right.
care of what you have because
Right.
you know that, you had to work hard for that.
Right. No, I agree 100% with that one. Yeah, I think for me, it's always been something where I didn't have any complaints. Like I was happy. You know what I'm saying? Now, if I was in your situation, if I didn't have, mom around, I was always alone. I don't know. My parents, I mean, there were a lot of nights they weren't there for sure. They were both working, but my brothers and I all feel the same way. We had fun. We didn't look at it that way. I guess we didn't see ourselves as being until later years. We realized how bad We actually were, it was normal for us. Like, this is life. You know, this is how it was. You know, you heat your house with wood and you have to hustle for everything. And it could be brutal at times. I mean, cold weather, brutal, out cutting wood with ill-equipped, little vinyl gloves with improper lining. It's 10 below with the wind chill, and you're out in the wood, you know, carrying wood for your home. And you didn't feel your fingers like when you were done. It was probably shouldn't have been out there.
I don't know about that. I grew up in Florida.
Yeah, you grew up in Florida. Yeah, I grew up in the mountains of Pennsylvania where it was every bit as cold as what Ohio gets. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I didn't really think about it. I just appreciated everything. You know, I appreciate still this day, I just appreciate stuff, you know what I mean? Because you know what it was about and how hard you had to work for everything. And yeah.
We'd get super hot. We didn't have air conditioning, so we just turn on the water hose and douse ourselves, and then and then go about our business. Get hot again and turn on the water hose and douse ourselves, and then go at it again. There was a farmer that lived behind us, and he had sugar cane. And I remember I used to run to the back of the property line, and I would stick my little body through the fence, and I would snap off some sugar cane and peel it back, and then I would just lick sugar cane all day.
Now, see, they didn't have sugar cane where I grew up. They had a lot of gnats. That's what we had. So gnats like crazy. But yeah, I would die. I mean, I'm a heat baby. I've always said I could never survive in the South. Like, I have that being a cold climate because I just function so much better.
This is a lot of information, but I remember at the end of the day, you were so hot and so sticky that you could, even as small children, you could literally smell yourself. It was so bad.
Yeah, well, another reason to like Ohio.
Yes.
Well, I appreciate you coming in and sharing that because obviously, the power of invite, the power of just being there for somebody. Just, you know, it's not rocket science to pick somebody up. Hey, if you want to ride to church, and just being there, you know, having that, adopting kind of that person into your family and having them around and seeing, you know, it must have been a pleasure for them to see you grow up over those years.
Oh, yes.
You know,
just remember that through, you know, Christ working through you, you can make a difference. You can change lives.
Right.
I am proof positive
right.
that you can change lives.
Right. And we should be praying about that.
Yes.
Pray about that. Pray, Lord, who do you want me to impact? What do you want me to do? I mean, I think that's exciting. I think it's a great testimony. I really appreciate you coming in and sharing it. And hopefully it'll be really light a fire, you know, under some of us to keep our eyes out for those people who are, they just need a little encouragement. Sure. You know what I mean? That could, because through Christ, just change their life. So thanks for coming
Absolutely.
in.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
Appreciate it. We appreciate you tuning in. Hope that you guys all have a great and a blessed week. Get out there. VBS is coming up at the end of June. Invite somebody, even not even a VBS, could be Awana, could be junior church, whatever's going on. Bring people out. Be sensitive to the needs of those around us.